I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies. If you mix brilliance with bravery, that we can ignite something. Even this conversation alone can ignite the people.
The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great. People in this world shun people for being great, for being a bright color, for standing out. But the time is now to be okay to be the greatest you.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Kelly. We are back with another video. If you guys are new to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I would greatly appreciate that. If you're into true crime stories, news, and politics, then I think you would enjoy the content here. And if you are a returning listener or subscriber, thank you as always for being a friend, guys. I really do appreciate y'all so very much. And please interact with the channel wherever you can. If you can like the video, give it a comment, follow me on Twitter, whatever you guys can do. I appreciate y'all so much, and that is real and true. So today, guys, we're gonna get into Donald Trump. Okay, I felt the need to come on here and make my case. So if you have Trump derangement syndrome or are a MAGA hating, Trump hating person, totally fine. I respect our difference of opinion, but this might not be the video for you. Or if you have an open mind and you still have a, Trump hating syndrome, stick around. Maybe I can change your mind, maybe not. Either way, I'd love to hear the dialogue on it. Really would, guys. I am all open for that. Disagreement of opinions, I'm down. So I just wanted to get on here and make the case, guys, because a lot of people are, starting to chat on Twitter about, why people are still supporting Donald Trump. He's been indicted 150 times by now, and, people just don't get it, I think. And so I wanted to come on here and just explain it as somebody who is a Trump supporter, and I think I make a pretty good case. So let's get into it, y'all. So the main gist of this video, we're going to be looking at some of the hypocrisies of how they're treating and have been treating Donald Trump. And for anyone who is, confused about why people are still defending him after being indicted so many times, and why that's just such a blatant hypocrisy and such a threat to this country as a whole and our way of living. If you appreciate, the system that we have going on here in this country, however broken or beyond disrepair you might think it may be, it's important to understand the logistics and the reasoning why it is such a huge deal for this to be happening now. And for, them trying to take Trump out of the race is such a huge problem. So we're going to go over some of those hypocrisies. I want to watch and react with you guys about 9-minute clip of Nick Fuentes' show, because I thought he broke it down really, really well. And so we're going to watch that, and then we're going to look a little bit into the fourth indictment, the one out of Georgia, and just discuss that, and then we'll get on out of here. I'm not really going to be discussing Biden or his all of his shit. I might do a video on that later, but I don't know, it's weird. Every time I do a video like criticizing Biden, those are like some of the videos where I get like the most dislikes on my video or whatever. Like I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I might have some liberals that watch these videos, which is awesome. Like I really do want there to be a diversity of people that watch my videos, and I think we can all agree to disagree. But I don't know, I might do a video, but it's just so much corruption with him, it's like ridiculous. So anyways, let's get into some of those hypocrisies that I was discussing from the left. And it's laughable at this point, truly is. If you guys aren't paying attention and you aren't seeing this, well, just prepare to be gaslit to the extreme.
Now that he's got the right attorney general in position to do it, we now know they really have been trying to gin up criminal prosecutions and criminal investigations into the president's perceived enemies.
Oh, okay. So first of all, if you didn't know any better, and if you didn't hear my intro, you probably think that, she might be talking about Biden, but of course, in what world would Rachel Maddow and MSNBC be actually criticizing a Democrat? So these are all like the, shrill shrieking hypocrisies that the left was doing whenever Donald Trump did have the presidency, saying that he was going to become this dictator, he was going to use the DOJ to weaponize against all of his political opponents. And, you know, there was the Ukraine thing where he was trying to actually look into legitimate corruption by the Biden crime family. But that's a little different than indicting Donald Trump for having paperwork, you know, at his residence in Mar-a-Lago. So I'm sorry, forgive me, but yeah, or questioning an election when he had the full authority to do so in Georgia. Yeah, so it's a little different, you know, laundering money, corruption via your crackhead son, a little different. But you would think that they were talking about Joe Biden, because what's happening is that Joe Biden's actually been using the DOJ to weaponize his position and the position of the Justice Department to persecute Donald Trump.
Politically motivated persecution, right? Courtesy of Bill Barr. I'll roll in the FBI on you. That's how banana republics work, right?
Oh, yeah,
The home of the 45th President of the United States has been raided by the FBI.
Mr. Trump is using the Justice Department to go after his perceived enemies. I feel worried about the prospect of the Justice Department being used as a tool of this president or any. In our little banana republic, any capable prosecutor can get a grand jury to hand down an indictment of something as innocent as a ham sandwich.
Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump.
Breaking news on former President Trump. He's been indicted for the 4th time in 5 months.
Bill Barr, on the president's behalf, is weaponizing the Justice Department to go after the president's enemies. When you win an election, you don't seek to just prosecute the losing side.
The president using the Justice Department as a weapon to get what he wants.
Department of Justice is totally politicized.
Sicking the Department of Justice on political opponents.
Threatening to imprison his political rival, Banana Republic style.
Trying to exact revenge against all of his enemies. Tin pot dictator in a banana republic.
Is acting more like a banana republic dictator.
He's using government resources to go after his political opponent.
Essentially, we are a banana republic. That we are seeking to have a bogus and criminal investigation into a political opponent.
And that's using the Department of Justice to also target Trump's political opponent for nefarious reasons. This is a massive abuse of power and a betrayal of our values. The President of the United States is targeting a family member of a political opponent. This is the type of thing that happens in a banana republic.
And trying to take out a political rival in Joe Biden.
Criminally investigating an American political rival, someone the president is worried about losing to in the next election.
To investigate my principal opponent or a principal opponent.
Hello? John Podesta. Girl, didn't you have some funny business going on over there with, you know, with a laptop, certain laptop, and a certain Hillary Clinton? Yeah, why is this man still on TV? Why is he still allowed in the polite and general public? Can you go crawl under a rock somewhere?
In the upcoming election. Houston, we have a problem.
Don't you think that's something that should be investigated when the incumbent political party opens a counterintelligence investigation on the candidate of the opposing party?
We know Trump is itching to politicize the Justice Department, and the Attorney General has been super shady.
The president is weaponizing the Department of Justice to bring cases against his enemies. The Department of Justice is in an existential crisis.
Again, it's yet another example of the Justice Department basically losing all of its independence in this administration.
This is now about corrupting the next election. And for me, this was crossing the red line.
A president who is actively trying to potentially steal the upcoming election.
But to try to take out a political rival. The end goal being 2020.
Donald Trump and his attorney general are using the Justice Department. The only difference between this and a banana republic is that Trump does not eat fruit.
The 2020 election is really the last chance we have to stop our system from fully sliding into a corrupt banana republic.
Bill Barr has done everything that Donald Trump has wanted him to do.
Yeah.
We're living in a banana republic right now.
When you start using the Justice Department to go after your enemies, that's very, very dangerous.
Donald Trump is using the Department of Justice to go after his enemies in any way that he can.
Having the head of the chief federal law enforcement agency essentially working on his behalf to investigate a political rival.
To investigate the family of a political opponent. Basically, banana republic behavior.
We're no better than some,
some banana republic.
And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me.
Imagine owning a Biden hat. Oh my, like embarrassment for the rest of eternity. I feel like that's like, you know, owning any Biden merch is like grounds to get you straight to hell.
We just have to demonstrate that he will not take power.
Hello?
If he does run.
We just have to, okay. So what was that again, sir? Because you mumble a lot, and so I didn't, you know, quite get it.
We just have to demonstrate that he will not take power. If he does run.
Okay, that's what I thought you said. So yeah, guys. So just a few years ago, it was Banana Republic talk for a president to use the DOJ to go after their primary political opponent because they're, quote, scared of losing an election. No, I think Donald Trump was more scared of the election being stolen, which we all know how that turned out. So, but yet, if you ask those same people today how they feel about the Trump indictments, well, listen, guys, they're up on MSNBC looking like this with a certain Hillary Clinton of all people. I mean, if this doesn't do it for you, this makes me want to punch the screen of my laptop, okay?
The system of democracy at its heart is the idea that the people get to decide how we are governed. And if we no longer believe that our will is effectuated through the system, if bad actors tell us falsely that every election is stolen.
Well, he certainly interfered in our election, and it was clear he interfered to hurt me and to help my opponent. Unprecedented interference. I was on the way to winning.
We know that Putin was intent upon helping Trump. That's no longer subject to debate. The interference with the election, Virginia just stopped using touchscreen computer voting because it's so vulnerable. Right. We need to look at all the voting machines. Every Secretary of State needs to be, assisted in making sure.
Excuse me, did you just mention contacting secretaries of state to inquire about elections? Because I'm pretty sure in Georgia that type of thing gets you indicted. So can we get some cuffs for Miss Clinton here? Miss will never be president here? Miss, Pizzagate here? Okay, I mean, is she doing election denial here right before our very eyes? I mean, the highest crime in our country? Oh boy.
Sure that they are not being hacked and attacked.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
He knows that he's an illegitimate president.
Oh my God.
And is stolen, and that the only way an election is trustworthy is if they come out on top of it. Then something it tells you something not just about that person or that moment. It maybe wounds us as a democracy in a way that is hard to repair. What do you think about how we get better after the wounds that have been inflicted on us through this process?
Well, I think, the truth matters.
Girl. Okay. This bitch. Oh, I mean, just two lesbians just up on that screen flaunting their sheer gayness, okay? I mean, go scissor it out already. Because you're disgusting. I mean, it's so frustrating to me because everything that they're doing now, it is truly like they are slapping us all in the face.
You can have the election stolen from you.
This one.
And you.
How can you win with Russian interference, though?
That's a real
what I'm
thing.
scared about in 2020.
But rightly.
Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you... fight against that in 2020.
You are absolutely right.
He's an illegitimate president in my mind.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate? Folks, look, I absolutely agree.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016.
How, Jimmy Carter,
lost the
are you
election,
still alive?
And he was put into office because the Russians interfered.
Sir, you're half dead.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president-elect, although legally elected, is not legitimate.
I don't see the president-elect as a legitimate president.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do. We have a president who, if in fact it is proven, has been assisted by the Russians and may in fact not be a legitimate president.
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally...
Well, I'm glad Trevor Noah decided to get all dressed up to interview Hillary Clinton. Like, what the fuck? You're in a hoodie. Like, get it together.
We will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection. I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina. I object because people are horrified.
He's an illegitimate president.
Do you believe Trump is a legitimate president?
What I believe is that there's no question that the outcome of this election was affected by the Russian interference.
There absolutely is a cloud of illegitimacy.
So that legitimacy is in question, yes. So that was a very tainted election. And
you know who it was tainted by was Hillary Clinton, who, let's never forget, basically was the mastermind behind the Steele dossier and the Russia allegations. Let's never forget that it was actually her campaign that helped to fund all of those allegations that absolutely torpedoed his first term and basically kneecapped him throughout the entire first portion. And even, I would argue, like, his whole entire presidency was really co-opted by Democrats' bullshit lies, okay? And that's what's really driving, I think, the desire and the urgency for people to support Trump and to be adamant that it is Trump who gets elected. And if it's not, it's kind of over, because in my opinion, if they can take a candidate out of the race who is currently the leading GOP candidate, and if they can take him out and not allow you to cast your vote for Trump, doesn't matter what you think. I don't even care if you agree with me, but you should agree with the fact that everyone has the right to vote for a candidate, and we shouldn't be going after people for illegitimate purposes the way they've been going after Trump for years and years, been hypocritical the entire time, okay, slinging lies and bullshit, their own election denialism, and now they want to clutch pearls and act like Trump is this horrible, bad person. You know, maybe all politicians are bad on a certain level. I'm not saying Trump's a perfect angel either. He has done things that I disagreed with. He's done things that are probably bad in his life. I don't know his life story. All I know is that, like, the fact of the matter is the way, the ferocity that they're going after him indicates to me that there's something to it and that they are threatened by him. And so that is reason enough to want to see, you know, like, him back in office. But there's so many other layers and complexities to this, but it's just enraging that people would not be up in arms about the, you know, elites and the quote-unquote, you know, uniparty and all of these, you know, corrupt people would take Trump out of the race and then look at Trump supporters crazy when we say, you know, we might not vote for anybody. We might just say, you know, damn the world, burn it down, because if you can't vote for who you want to vote for, then the system's so broken beyond repair that what is even the point? Okay? And Nick is going to break this down really, really well. We're about to watch his thing in a second, but let's get to one more clip. And this is from Jimmy Dore's show, who is a super leftist, very progressive person who I enjoy his content a lot because I think he's real. I disagree with, you know, a lot of his policy positions, but I think at least he is truthful and, you know, for the most part calls it like he sees it. And, you know, I feel like it is very upfront about his disdain for the system. and just wanting what's best for Americans. And I can agree with anyone on that level. I don't care how far left your politics are. We should all be uniting instead of separating. That's what they want to do. They want to divide Americans based on class or party lines or race or whatever it is. Okay, but if we unite against them, that's where the true power lies in this country. And that's why this country was founded. And that is what the ultimate, foundation of this nation is actually built upon. Okay, is coming together against a corrupt and an evil government. So let's watch this. He's basically just commenting on this clip that he's about to play from Glenn Greenwald's show.
That Donald Trump did exactly that was illegal.
So he's trying to find out, what did Donald Trump do that it's illegal?
We have to prove Trump honestly thought he didn't win. The guy who has probably never in his life
thought he lost anything.
Fault, or
never took responsibility for a failure.
Which you all know and criticize him for. But you think this time
he knew secretly he was a loser.
Inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what Glenn says. What did he do?
That Donald Trump did exactly that was illegal. He definitely sued in court multiple times and lost, which is absolutely his right to do. He told Mike Pence what he heard from his lawyers was Mike Pence's ability to do, even if it wasn't, which is...
So Trump's lawyers told him that Mike Pence could overturn the election, and so Trump leaned on Mike Pence to exercise what Trump thought his power was, which, again, not illegal.
Act as that vice presidential role and reject as certified results, ones that he regarded had evidence of fraud, and send them back to the states. He arranged for an alternative state of electors to be ready to be anointed in the event he could prove that there was fraud. But what about this is criminal? Which of these steps are illegal? You really have to stretch the law to make it into a crime. I'm not saying it's impossible, but this is what I've been saying from the beginning. If we're going to abandon decades worth of consensus among Washington elites and the political and media class,
the consensus he's talking about is that we're not going to try to criminalize our political opponents. That's the consensus. That once someone gains power, they won't immediately try to throw their political opponents in jail. That's what he means. They didn't put Dick Cheney and George Bush in jail, and they admitted to ordering a torture program. Barack Obama committed war crimes every day of his life. He presided over the drone program, which killed 90% innocent women, children, grandmothers, grandfathers, babies. He was doing that.
Any male with arms and legs over the age of 15?
90% innocent people he killed.
That ain't collateral damage.
That's on purpose.
If they got a terrorist, that was collateral.
That was. Okay. So that's the consensus he's talking about, is that even though they're all war criminals, all of them, every president in my lifetime, you don't prosecute your political enemies, and that was the consensus. Well, now this is over because the donor class hates Donald Trump. By the way, Donald Trump was one of them. So this idea that somehow Donald Trump is a horrible liar, criminal, some kind of crazy criminal who needed to be indicted 4 times, he's been in public life for like 70 years. They gave him his own network television show for 10 years straight where Hollywood celebrities would genuflect at his altar, and they weren't even allowed to use his first name. That's how much reverence they had for him, Mr. Trump. They gave him Emmy nominations. Every politician wanted to be seen with him. The Clintons and his kids are best friends. They all go to each other's weddings. They all play golf with each other.
Oprah?
Yeah, so this idea that somehow Donald Trump all of a sudden in his 75th, 6th, or 7th year of life became some kind of unbelievable criminal that they have to prosecute right now, of course, doesn't pass the smell test whatsoever.
You understand the crime here. It's something they all believe in. They'll tell you over and over again. It's called staying in your lane.
That's right.
And so even the great Howard Stern's like, oh, if he said I'm not going to run for president anymore, I would hug him right now.
That's right.
Like, you're supposed to stay. So, for example, don't research anything. That's not your lane.
That's right. You're supposed to let Dr. Fauci look it up for you.
It's called
They obviously have abandoned this feigned neutrality. They don't pretend at all to be neutral. It's just their loyalty is not to the truth. It's just to defeating Donald Trump. It's not that they've abandoned this practice of feigning neutrality or being objective to a flaw. It's a one-time only exemption for Donald Trump. Everything has been transformed as a result of Donald Trump. Every profession, every institution that has anything to do with politics has abdicated their role in order to do that. And that's the same here. This does not mean, none of these indictments mean that we're now going to start to have a very wide and permissive interpretation of law to start indicting top-level politicians. If it were, I would look at it differently. I would still only favor prosecution where someone has actually committed clear crimes. You cannot go around charging popular politicians with crimes absent clear criminality, because if you do that, you're going to destroy the credibility of the justice system and of the legal authorities.
And that's what's happening right now. They've destroyed the credibility of the justice system and the legal authority in this country. They did that. That's what's happening. But I say this to Glenn. Well, what's so hard for Glenn to understand, really, right? If we stretch the law to get Trump, then we'll have a permanently gaping loose law that we could then use against you. It's a win-win, really. It's a win-win, really.
We need more gaping laws.
So true, though. That just really is another point to this whole argument that I am making to you guys here, is that if we allow the Department of Justice, the FBI, whoever, politicians in general, to keep overstepping and trampling over the rights of people, and not only the rights, but like the norms of our country, not prosecuting political opponents, using these, crimes, these loose criminal laws to make indictments fit where they would not normally fit. It's such a slippery slope, and it is just so dangerous to even entertain that. Okay, first of all, we need so much pullback from the government. It's ridiculous already. Okay, let's take away all of the useless laws. Let's shrink the government. We don't need more of it. We need less of it. So to allow these people to continue to grab power in the form of, propaganda and indictments against Donald Trump, and convincing people who are too small-minded to see the big picture that this is a good thing for the country, and that Donald Trump's such a monster that we need to break all of these norms and stretch all of these laws, one day it's going to come around to you. And if you don't believe that, if you don't think that's true, okay, just look at history and the way that it has played out in the past. The more we've allowed government to take the reins and to expand itself, the worse we have become as a country. So I'm just saying. Okay, so let's get into Nick's little go-off moment here from his show the other night. I will speed this up a little bit. Let's see. And we'll watch this, and I'll give some commentary on it.
And so you look at 2020 as a counter coup. 2020 was their way of undoing the coup in 2016. And it was an overthrow of the president. And in a way, it was an overthrow of the people. It was like the people put him in office, and the regime overthrew him, and thereby overthrew the people. And so when DeSantis says it's not about Trump, now that the regime is basically trying to make it illegal for him to run again, they're trying to lock him up, and they're pulling out every tool in their arsenal to prevent him from succeeding and getting back into office. You realize that all of this, everything that's happened, it absolutely is about him. They're making it illegal to be against them. They're making it illegal to be effectively against them. They're saying in this latest indictment about January 6th that the reason that Trump committed a conspiracy is because people told him that he lost, but he persisted in telling people that he didn't anyway, even though he was told. So I said that's a lie. So in other words, if I get in an argument with a liberal and I say, hey, God is real, and then they say, no, he isn't, and then I say, well, you're a liar because I told you. Now you go to jail. It's like they have effectively criminalized dissent. They've effectively, by doing that, criminalized saying or thinking an alternative viewpoint or acting on it. If they say that a liberal telling you something persistently, and if you don't believe them means you're a liar, then that means we can't disagree with liberals. If they say that a liberal telling you something and you disagreeing is a lie, which then constitutes a criminal conspiracy, that means it's a conspiracy to try to be an elected representative if you disagree with the consensus, if you disagree with the liberal agenda. And this is only coming down because Trump did it. You're not allowed to beat Trump. You're not allowed to oppose the power. You're not allowed to win. You're not allowed to contest the results if you lose or if they cheat or they rig it. You can't attack the media or call out their bias. You can't attack social media and call out the censorship. You can't attack the administration by the state. Otherwise, it's a crime scene. So it is about Trump. It's been about Trump since the beginning. And what Trump represents, which is deeper than that, is a real battle between the people and a specific part of the people and the government. And when I say government, I mean the regime. I mean not just the federal government, but I mean the entire power structure. And when DeSantis goes out there and says it's not about Trump and federal law enforcement is being politicized and blah, 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 you realize that he is not Trumpism without Trump. He is a compromise between Trump or Trump supporters and the regime. The regime is extending a hand through DeSantis and offering a compromise and saying, look, we can't tolerate a guy that attacks the media. We can't tolerate a guy that doesn't concede an election. We can't tolerate a guy that wants to build a wall. And we can't tolerate somebody who is not in bed with the political system. But here's what we can do. And DeSantis is their outstretched hand, saying, here's what we can do. We can go against woke. We can moderate wokeness. And we can have a fiscal conservative agenda. And we can have a restrained hegemonic foreign policy. And we can have whatever DeSantis represents. But that's as good as we can do. And to the extent that people at some point were taking him up on that or saw value in that proposition, they were shaking hands with the establishment and saying, all right, you have a deal. Saying, all right, I relent, I give up. It's not worth all the fighting. I'm in this attrition battle. I've had a...
And that is what they're counting on. What he is saying here is so important because all of the people who are giving up on Trump or who are saying that people just need to give it up, he's got too much going on, it's too much baggage and all of this, that's what they want to happen, okay? You have to sit back and wonder, what is the reason for all of this coming down now? He's been out of office for almost 3 years now, right? Okay, and so why now? Why all of a sudden? Why every time there's a new Joe Biden scandal, does the media ignore it and a new indictment comes down for Trump? Why? And if you think that it's just a coincidence, then I'm sorry, you're naive. Okay, the reason why, everyone's going so hard for Ron DeSantis, it's deeper than that. It's deeper than people just liking Trump. It's because if they take your choice away, doesn't matter what it is. What if they were doing all of this to Ron DeSantis and they were trying to take him out of the race? I would totally disagree with that as well. I think he should drop out on his own volition, but for the establishment to try to come and take anyone out of the race, okay, it was wrong when they did it to Bernie Sanders. He got the nomination for the Democratic Party stolen from him 2 times. That's egregious, okay, and it's wrong now. So, does that make it a little bit more clear? Because I feel like it's so important to understand that. So that's why people are going so hard, because it's like, it doesn't matter who it is. But the fact that they are going after this man so hard, it doesn't matter, okay? We have to stand by him because it's a show of, it's basically like chicken. Like we're playing chicken with the establishment and the federal government. And who is going to break first? Who is going to swerve? And we cannot allow ourselves to cuck once again and swerve out of their way and allow them to just run right through us, okay? It's over. It's done with if we allow that to happen once again. So, the fact that they're even trying this should tell you what kind of dire state that we're in, okay? Because it's so blatant and so in your face right now that it's honestly terrifying, and it makes me wonder, what do they know that we don't know?
Enough of all this headache and drama and suffering and negativity with Trump, and I don't want to fight anymore. All right, let's have DeSantis.
Yeah, no.
But of course, DeSantis is just an appendage of the system then. If he's the outstretched hand, the intention there is to bring you back into the fold. is to bring you back to the negotiating table of Slavery Incorporated.
Right.
You know, Donald Trump said, let's flip the table over. Fuck you. Like, I'm not going to play by your rules, and I'm going to attack the media, and I'm going to say the things you're not supposed to say. You don't like how the table's set? Flip the table over. Burn Washington down, metaphorically. Let's make a real change. And the regime is reaching out to the Trump supporters and saying, aren't you guys tired of your war against us? It's been 7 years, 8 years of war. Aren't you tired of it? Aren't you tired of all the casualties and collateral damage? How about you sit back down? How about you take a seat right here and let's hash this out? We'll give you Ron DeSantis. He's Trumpism without Trump, okay? Not attacking our media, not attacking the Republican Party establishment, not going to upset the apple cart with NAFTA or NATO or the border or anything like that. Do we have a deal? And of course, if you shake hands, then you're back on the hamster wheel. And you're back in Republican politics. You're right back there, Republicans and Democrats fighting for the end until the end of time, while America becomes majority non-white, while we're raped to death by the globalists, while our wealth is sucked out of our country through a straw by the Jews. That's what DeSantis represents. And so people have to recognize that we have to recognize the nature of what we're really doing here and what is the nature of the struggle. Trump is against the system, so we support Trump. It is about him. It is about him as a guy. He is the shield. He is the sword. He is a leader. He is the head of the snake, so to speak. And so the movement lives and dies by him. If he's not around, if he's not in the picture, there's no movement because there's no other leader. So he's become a symbol, but also at the same time, more than a symbol. He's combining the two things into one, leading the charge. And so his personal freedom, like we said before, and success are bound up with the success and the freedom of the movement and the country. It is about whether he crosses the finish line against all these people trying to stop him as a will from getting in there and quite literally taking America, making it great again, like he said he would do. So this little statement that DeSantis made is just proof that he's against us, because all you have to do, I mean, just read the rest of the statement. I mean, he acknowledges all the problems from 2020. He just won't say it's rigged. How is it not rigged? Zuckerberg gave $300 million for get out the vote in these blue. The media was 95% negative. Social media buried the story about Hunter Biden's laptop. They had the mail-in voter fraud. I mean, we don't have elections anymore. They just changed that. In the last 4 years, they just changed that. We will never have another dissident elected ever again if it's not for Trump winning in 24. Because who in this new environment, in an environment where Trump already existed and the system has been Trump-proofed, who then could go forward in the future and beat the media and social media and Zuckerberg and finance and the Republican Party establishment?
We'll just have to see where it goes, guys, because I don't know. And this was a good thread on Twitter that I wanted to show y'all before we get into some of the nitty-gritty things about the Georgia indictment, which is also a joke. People are saying that this is the one that's going to put him behind bars, but you know what? I'll believe it when I freaking see it. So this little thread on Twitter was good. So I'm going to skip to the end, though, kind of, because I don't want to read all this. He's talking about, like, Reagan and all this other stuff. Okay. So as a constitutional conservative, I was pleasantly surprised. In my lifetime, he has adhered to the limitations of the Constitution more than any other president. Talking about Trump. He got shit done. Our economy was booming. He was dismantling freedom, limiting regulations. He didn't suck us into new wars. He was quelling the war we were in. He put our world's adversaries on notice. He began to make our world's allies step up and share the cost of maintaining peace and growing prosperity. He was exposing our government's bureaucracies as the useless and destructive swamp that they are. He was exposing the Democrats as the destructive Marxist fascists that they are. I was all in for Trump in 2020. So here we are today. The Republican leadership is against Trump, because just like Reagan, Trump was/is disrupting the status quo. That's why I believe we need Trump more today than we did in 2020. 2 reasons why. No other Republican candidate is going to fight with the same fierce intensity to get our nation back on track as Trump will. Most will take back to the status quo. And then 2, no matter what every other candidate promises to do when in office, their number one priority will be to get reelected. Trump is free from that burden. He's got 4 years. He's going to spend every waking hour concentrating on getting our nation prosperous and strong again, reclaiming world power, and most importantly, destroying with hellfire vengeance the tyrannical fascistic swamp that metastasized within our federal government. In my eyes, he and only he can permanently change our nation for the better. So this is the most important part. Like, this is why my my thumbnail says Dark MAGA incoming, because he's so right. Any other president is going to have to adhere to the the handicap that most first-term presidents have, which is having to not make too much noise, don't cause any big waves, because you want to get reelected for a second term. So, any other candidate's going to have that issue on the Republican side. Donald Trump can go in there with a literal blowtorch and just blow everything up, which is what I pray to God he will do, and which is what he says he's going to do. And I think he's just pissed off enough to actually do it. And we need to fight fire with fire, okay? Like, literally. I'm so done with all of these Republicans who don't do shit for the people who are conservative in this country. All they do is have empty promises and, strongly worded tweets or letters to bureaucrats in the government. It's like, we're done. I'm done with that shit. I want to see some action, okay? The Democrats have proven and they have displayed to us how they can do action, how they can actually implement all of these horrific policies and these overreaches that they do on a daily basis. So if Republicans are just going to sit back and allow themselves to be bullied and, allow the Democrats to keep giving them wedgies and swirlies, okay, like we're just some cucked out little weak losers, then you don't get the support. I'm sorry. Like, the Republican Party is going to literally implode if they don't get off their asses and start doing something about this and fighting back. Because it is ridiculous at this point. I would rather vote for a third-party candidate than vote for anybody. And I like some of the candidates. I like Vivek. Like, somewhat. There's weird things about him, and it is very questionable that he came out of nowhere. And I don't like that he's a pharma CEO, but he says the right things. But you can say all that you want. Is the action going to be back there? And it's like, we have no idea how he's going to handle going into that swamp that he's never even set foot inside of. Okay, he's totally unproven candidate who's just saying all the right things and everyone's just falling all over themselves about it, okay? But I do like him. Rob, okay. Rob can redeem himself, but he's got a long freaking ways to go. But in theory, I do like his policies, and again, he has good words. But it's like, we don't need any of that. We need somebody who's going to be proven to go in there, who's somebody who can fight fire with fire, somebody who, is kind of a loose cannon. And we need him to go in there and blow it up. Like, that's just literally what we need, because we're at a turning point right now, and we're at a breaking point. Our economy's going to hell. Our dollar's, on the road to implosion and utter, disintegration. We're looking down the barrel of World War III, okay? And we have a, degenerate octogenarian retard who is, barely in office at this point, who cannot even look after the state of Hawaii when they have, whatever they got going over there in Maui. I'm not going to say it was a natural disaster, because at this point I truly don't believe that it was. But he'd rather take care of Ukraine, because he has the obligation to, because of the fact that he's been bought out by that country for years. It's disgusting, it's deplorable, and it is absolutely infuriating. So, let's go over some of the details from the fourth indictment, and then we will jump on out of here, guys, because I have just about had enough.
And this is not an exaggeration, this is not hyperbole. This is an attempt to nullify the United States Constitution. I'm going to read some parts of the indictment here, the specifics, which I think are extremely necessary to understand what we're dealing with. How about this one? On December 3rd, 2020, Donald John Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account, "Georgia hearings now on OAN, amazing. This was an overt act of in furtherance of the conspiracy." Watching cable television is the furtherance of a conspiracy in Fulton County, Georgia. Just to remind you, this is a local DA. A local DA. While violent crime is going up crazy in Atlanta, this is a local DA that is indicting a former president. How about this one? Gee, what a surprise. Has anyone informed the so-called Governor Brian Kemp and his puppet, Jeff Duncan, that they could easily solve this mess? So easy. Fani Willis says this was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Rudy Giuliani stated, Georgia Patriot call to action. Today is the day we need you to call your state, house, and representatives. A constitutional right, by the way, to petition your government. Fani Willis writes, this was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Mark Meadows, this is one of the most unbelievable ones, texted United States Representative Scott Perry from Pennsylvania, a good man. Can you send me the number for the Speaker of the House in the Pennsylvania legislature? POTUS wants to chat with them. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Wait, so the local DA in Georgia has jurisdiction over sending a text message to somebody in Pennsylvania, and he wants to have a chat with the Speaker of the House in Pennsylvania, and that's an overt furtherance of a criminal conspiracy. Even if all these charges are dismissed, they're still going to have to spend tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars defending themselves. John Eastman, Mark Meadows, Jenna Ellis, Donald John Trump. This is not justice, everybody. This is seething, neurotic revenge.
And the fact that they are also including lawyers, okay? So now DAs are going after lawyers? Hello? Like, does anyone else not feel supremely alarmed by that? Okay, so now it is becoming illegal in this country for lawyers to give legal opinions and to give legal advice to their clients. This is beyond the scope of wrong. This is like, just like he said, it's hateful. It's just revenge served up on an ice cold platter of bitterness. I mean, it gives me chills, truly. The fact that this is how blatant it is. They are trying to criminalize Donald Trump's speech and his ability to question an election. He went about things in all of the right ways. He had, as president, the authority to do so. It's mind-blowing.
Revenge against Donald J. Trump for even daring to run for the presidency. For even daring to be a successful president. They're trying to send a message that if you even dare to step up and to challenge the orthodoxy in D.C., you will be indicted all the way across the board. All the way across the board. And last night in Fulton County is just the latest chapter in the story of can we permanently take over the country. You have Fani Willis, who has 18 people indicted that are going to have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend themselves each on a RICO case, minimum 5-year sentence, for watching cable television and sending out tweets and things that happened in Pennsylvania. Fani Willis, a local DA, is prosecuting a national conspiracy case, ruining the lives of literally half the conservative movement. Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, John Eastman, Donald Trump.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And I got excuses. I just started to make phone calls because I was angry. I don't sit idly by well. And people say, well, she doesn't have jurisdiction. But she does have something that's awfully helpful. She has the media. She's going to be able to push the boundaries on this because the entire regime media is slobbering over Big Fani Willis.
Big Fani Willis.
Right here, this beautiful picture.
Oh, no.
Of Fani Willis.
But Fani means
yeah, when
butt.
I think of modern beauty, I think of Fani Willis.
Oh, no, you clown.
Racketeering Act is key in Georgia in case versus Trump.
You know it's bad when
Front page of the New York
mad.
Times. We're going to go through this, how the New York Times is covering it. Yeah, we don't have the media. Who cares? Do it anyways. You are demanding it. The people are demanding it. Your leaders are not listening. I can say that from somebody who spoke to them on the phone and just asked questions. All I did, why? And I got excuses. And they said, well, we're suing the Biden administration.
Jesus.
If this continues, we're going to lose everything. And I think you guys know that.
They don't care, and they don't care. That is the reality of the fact. They don't care. they got their money. You know, they've used the system, they've squeezed everything they can squeeze out of it, and it's just, we are alone at this moment. Like, nobody's coming to save us. Not even Donald Trump is coming to save us. I'm just saying that, like, in order to save ourselves, we have to elect Donald Trump, is my whole thing. I'm not saying that Donald Trump is going to be the savior of America, but to push back against the fight that is coming from the elite, that is coming from the uniparty, that is coming from these people who want to destroy your lives and take away your choices and your rights, we have to elect Donald Trump. And that, it's as simple as that. There's no really other way to put it. You know, even if you don't like him, you have to vote for him, because he's the only one that they don't want you to be able to vote for. So for that reason alone, you should, if you don't like the way that the country's going, if you don't like the direction that your life is going, if you think that things have gotten so bad in this country that you're starting to look around and not recognize things, then I think the answer is clear. And it's really simplistic if you just don't allow yourself to be propagandized by the media and all of the people who are trying to convince you that Trump is this evil person, this evil dictator, when just 7 years ago he was a beloved figure who was huge in the American culture, well respected and well loved by everyone. Okay? Just stop and ask yourself why for 1 second.
Excuse me, the reason they're not loving me is I don't want their money. I'm going to do the right thing for the American public. I don't want their money. I don't need their money. And I'm the only one up here that can say that. Eminent domain.
Elderly woman.
Let me talk. Quiet.
Quiet. That's right. You tell him, Daddy Trump. So if you guys want somebody who is going to be like that, okay, who's going to speak like that, and act on his love for the country and, you know, on behalf of American citizens, I think you guys know the answer. And if you don't, then this is what you'll get. And this is just, you know, this is just a taste. This isn't even like, you know, the worst of the worst. But here's Biden asking the press to leave, okay, from an event that they're trying to cover as journalists, okay? This is the most transparent president. This is the president with the most votes ever in U.S. history, okay? This is the most popular president of all time. This is Uncle Joe. This is Corn Pop, okay?
Politely ask the press to leave. Thank you for coming in.
See if the president answers any questions here.
He's laughing at you. He's laughing at me. He's laughing at all of us. Okay, just remember this creepy ass punchable face. Okay, after asking the press to leave and not taking a single question. Okay, because he knows he'll get embarrassed if he takes a question from the press in front of these people. He's a disgrace. He's a criminal. He should be removed forcibly from office, okay? By any means necessary. And I stand on that. And if you disagree, please, guys. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, everybody. We're going to make our way out now. Thanks, everybody. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Doesn't look like he is in a mood to answer questions.
He looks like he's in the mood to sniff a kid's hair, okay? Let's tell it like it is there, Fox News. I know you guys suck majorly, but let's just tell it like it is, okay? He doesn't look like he's in the mood for anything other than to sniff a damn head of hair. So guys, like I said, please leave it in the comments down below if you disagree, if you agree, if you have any thoughts. I would love to hear them and know them. Let's have a discussion about this. I truly believe this is right thing to do, no matter how you may feel about Trump, no matter how, you know, your policies might not align with his, or, you know, whatever the case may be. If you're against the establishment taking control of your life and of your choices, the clear and obvious choice is to elect Donald Trump for a third time, you know, in my case, but for a second time, and allow him to have the presidency that he was robbed of in his first term, and let's go in there with a blowtorch and really just light the entire thing on fire. Okay? Because it's what we need. Dark MAGA incoming. So let me know your thoughts, guys. Please like this video. Also, if you liked it, I would very much appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel and all of that good stuff. And yeah, until next time, guys, y'all stay safe out there, and I will see y'all later. Bye.
I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies. If you mix brilliance with bravery, that we can ignite something. Even this conversation alone can ignite the people.
The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great. People in this world shun people for being great, for being a bright color, for standing out. But the time is now to be okay to be the greatest you.